This is just the start of the build of the nightstands that are going to go with the headboard that I just finished up. Start out I had some walnut, a slab that I had, and it wasn't perfectly flat, so I cut it down to the proper size for the tops, a little bit oversized, and used some wood shims, some old wood shingles to just kind of prop up the corners and hold it so that it wouldn't rock on the table on my CNC router. And now I'm just going back and I'm going to flatten the slab a little bit. They really weren't off that much. It was a little bit over 1/16 of an inch. So, I just have some programs with some different size overall sizes that I can load in my router, and I can go back and just just use a dovetail bit actually to flatten with. So, it's a real easy job to do, and doesn't take long. You just let the router take care of it. And someday when I get the chance, I'm going to build a basically a CNC router to go on my little sawmill rails actually, and be able to flatten longer slabs just like this, to just let it run on its own. But in the meantime, luckily they were just a couple short pieces for tops. So and there's the first one done, and then I went back and did the same thing to the second one. And, it basically gives me one real nice flat side to work with, and it's just a matter to go over to the planer now and just flatten out the other side to make them parallel. You have to take a little bit off at a time because they're a little bit higher on one side, so you don't want to take too much. So basically, I'll just do a couple of light passes through there until they're perfectly flat and at the thickness that I desire. As you can see, the slab did retain the bark real good. So basically, I guess I'd call it a natural edge. I think live edge is when the bark falls off, and I think they call it natural edge when the bark is retained. So basically there's the two parts, and I throw them on my table so just to make sure they're perfectly flat. And now I'm carrying some more wood. This is more ash that was cut several years ago in my sawmill from my backyard, from trees that were attacked by the emerald ash borer. And basically, it's just a matter now of going through and starting to cut them down to multiples of the lengths that I need, and get them cut short enough so I can actually get them on the joiner to flatten them and straighten them. So some of the pieces had live edge on them yet, and I basically have an old saw guide that I drilled some holes in, that I just take and put a couple short screws into the board that I'm trying to straighten and remove the live edge on. And there it is. You just run that aluminum guide up against the saw fence. You can see how you get a nice straight edge on the other side. And there's the first passes on them, and you do wind up with a lot of good firewood too while you're doing this. And then I brought in some thinner wood that I had sawn a couple years ago, and started to break that down and flatten that down into pieces that are this multiples of the size that I need them in. So as with everything, basically it all starts out on the joiner here to just starting to get one good flat edge, and then one good edge that's actually perpendicular to that, so that you can start running them through the planer and the table saw to square them up perfectly. Now, I did have a lot of waste on these because they were all a little bit different in thickness that I started with. I just pulled out, whatever the thinnest stock that I had left, because I wanted basically at the end to be half-inch thick for all my drawer sides and backs and stuff. So basically, I start running them through the planer, and there you can see some are thinner than others, and they don't catch, but some of them might have some little high spots that catch and stuff like that. So with the spiral head, you can only take maybe about 1/16 of an inch off at a time without it jamming in the planer. So you have to just kind of run everything through until it starts hitting, and remove any high spots and stuff, and then finally you can plane it all to the same thickness in the end. But I did have a lot of waste just because I did start with thicker boards on all of the stock preparation, and that's really not the way I should do it. And I'm thinking in the future that projects like this, I'm basically going to get a better bandsaw that I can cut some real thin veneers with, and just use plywood and veneer on the ash on maybe an 1/8 inch thick ash on it, just to have the finished look and to make the projects quicker and easier to do. It's pretty amazing how many little parts these night table stands are actually going to have in the end. So I got got all of them planed so that they were 1/2 inch thick, and then it was time to go back and start to straighten one edge there, so I could just go back to the table saw and then rip them all to the proper width for the drawer sides and backs. Then it's over to the table saw, and now I just had to square everything up to the approximate length that I want in the end. They're just a little bit longer. There'll be some trimming when I do the final sizing of the stuff, but it's like I said, this video is just kind of breaking everything down, breaking down all the parts for the nightstands, and there are all the drawer sides. And now I'm going to go back to that wood that I started preparing in the beginning and start to do the final squaring up and flattening of those boards. And I didn't really keep a good eye on my dust collector while I was going along, and there you can see when I was flattening the face of the boards with the joiner, it kind of overfilled, and I should have a bag on it here, but I'm just trying to show you exactly what happens when you don't keep an eye on it and change a bag at the proper time. You can see how that sawdust actually gets blown up in the filter and just kind of plugs it and starts slowing down your airflow, and you don't even realize it in the beginning, and it looks like it's still working because the dust is still swirling in there, but it really does make a mess, so you have to keep a good eye on it. And there's all the side pieces that are pretty much cut to size now. I'm gonna go back and do some more flattening on these pieces, and you can see that orange busher block there, that bench dog that I bought a little while ago. I've been really enjoying that. That thing does, it sticks like glue to the wood when you're pushing it through the joiner, and it does have a nice comfortable handle to use, and it's offset to the side so it kind of protects your knuckles and everything. So that's been a real good buy, I think. So pretty much as you can see, by using all of the lumber that I pretty much sawn and dried from my backyard, you do wind up with quite a bit of waste, and because you never know the exact dimensions that you're going to need when you actually saw it. I'll just do some random numbers like 3/4, 4/4, 5/4, and 6/4 thick, and then when you get around to picking it out and using it, you'll always find you don't have the exact size, so you're going to wind up wasting some wood, but it didn't cost me anything, so I'm not too worried about it. So pretty much these are the pieces for the outsides of the nightstands, and now I'm getting ready to do a glue up. And you can see I just put some marks on there to place biscuits to, and you just have to line up that little red notch in the front of the biscuit machine there with the line that you put on both boards. And biscuits are the easiest way to join some pieces and make sure they have a good joint alignment when you're done, and it doesn't take long to do it. I used to use dowels, but they seem to take a long time to get everything lined up and drilled, so this is the way I pretty much do all my glue ups now. It would have been nice if I had a 16-inch joiner, then I could have just used some some wider stock that I have and just flattened it and done it without any glue ups or anything at all, but with my 8-inch joiner, I basically have to break everything down to some size that'll fit under it. Usually I'll stick to like 7.5 inches or so, just to make it easy to flatten everything. So this is just gluing up the side pieces, and same thing, I just use the little silicone brush to spread some glue on, and all my biscuits are swollen a little bit fatter than what they need to be, so I just use a little tack hammer and they go right in, so that makes it easier than trying to flatten them or sand them down any, and just a couple clamps to pull everything together. And when I put a clamp on the top, I usually throw some pieces of scrap wood under it like that. Just this is the good side up, and I don't want to get those black marks that you can get when the glue hits the clamp. So I just put a little spacer like that, and it makes it easy to clean off the extra glue under them and to avoid the black spots. And then I just have a couple straight blocks that I always put on each end of the piece. Usually you don't really need them or anything, but it just helps me make sure that everything is flat and perfectly aligned when I do the glue up. So for this project, I just had to glue up 4 sides like this, and it's just a matter, waiting for everything to dry. Then I brought in some more thinner wood to do the divider pieces for between the drawers. And I had to break them down. You can see what good wood I could get out of the pieces, and they were all a little bit different thicknesses and widths. And same thing, I went through and I jointed them and planed them and got them all to sizes that I could use, and then just did glue ups. And I needed 12 panels, but I wound up gluing 14 up just to be safe. So this is it. This is just kind of an idea of what goes into making a project. And I did buy a sheet of plywood at Home Depot and had them cut it up into 4 pieces. And I have the tops here. I have the sides. I'm going to use that polyacrylic again on this to match the headboard. And these are all the drawer sides that are going to go along with it. And these are actually going to be the drawer fronts when they get cut out. And I did come up with, I wound up with 10 bags of sawdust before I got done with just these couple of pieces. So kind of gives you an idea of how much changing of bags you have to do and whatnot for a project this size. Then I was at Home Depot. I found this neat double yardstick. It's a 2-yardstick made by Empire. It's supposed to be a straight edge, but it's not perfectly straight, but it's really pretty good. And it's 72 inches long, and I use this to mark a lot of the stuff that I'm going to be ripping on the bandsaw to start breaking it down. So this is just the first part of the build video, like I said, and I'll as I go further along, I'll provide you another video of starting to machine all the pieces and assemble it. And this is just basically a good representation of pretty much what I go through whenever I build a project, using wood that I've sawn and dried from my backyard. And it does take a little bit longer to get a project done this way, but everything is all natural wood at least. And thanks for watching. Please subscribe.